Hello everyone, I just want to welcome everybody to the garden. I just wanted to go through kind of for my own records, but you can also come along to record what's happening in the garden this year. All of this is new, all of it. Everything was either seed grown cuttings or a tiny plant or a transplant. Like that right there is a transplant from the other side of the yard within the last 3 months or so. This right here is the view out of my back door. It goes over to what I call the main house. And let's start over here and we'll end over here. Sorry about the... There we go. Alright, so let's go. Now, this is going to be very hard to actually film because, one, there's a lot of wind noise and road noise because I'm kind of in the middle of lots of stuff, but down here is a bunch of petunias that I did pull from cuttings, and you can maybe see a little bit of a difference in that one right there. I was pulling off a sport that I raised through the winter in the house, and most of it ended up that color, some of it ended up this color, but all of it came off of, that plant right there. So this plant in this area is the one that it came off of. If you're seeing some interesting things happening here, we'll get there. Back here, sorry. What was that? I have the craziest bugs around here, and they're very distracting, especially to me because I have ADHD. So anyway, we have those in there. We had sweet potato in here, and I have a Thai giant, an actual Thai giant. This is a tissue culture one, as you might be able to tell. Tissue culture ones have a little bit of a scoop around their leaf that the other ones don't have. I don't love it, but it is what it is. It's growing. Right behind it, all these cannas here are seed grown cannas. They all started from seed January or after, mostly February, March, April, May. That right there is a castor bean, and I've been loving these because they're actually just kind of popping up everywhere. I can let them grow where I want, and they're easy to pull out. This right here, I think is Canna Turkerhemii, and I want to say it's probably the base of Musifolia, because as you can see, it looks very, very banana-like. That is not a banana. Right back here is a banana, and if you'll see. So Turkerhemii right here, it's supposed to get 8 to 10 feet tall, I think. We'll see. I don't think any of these are going to get to their full potential this year because the soil here is terrible, which is actually why I'm planting all of these. This essentially is a chop and drop project, and I want to make sure that I have enough material to get enough green material to essentially make a giant compost pile over this every single year. As you can see, these ones turned into that white color. Have some other stuff up front here, but I haven't really done anything there this year. But I wanted to point this out because this is a Musa Baju, but it is a variegated one. It's having trouble unrolling itself. I don't know why. It's been raining for the last few days. But if you look at this leaf right here, you can kind of see the variegation in it. And it's doing well. It's putting a couple pups out. I've had this one for about 2 years, and it's never put a variegated pup out so far. If you look down here, there are some pups, and if you look, I also have spider mite damage because there's spider mites all over in these. So let's see. This is the newest leaf, and that does not look variegated. Which is kind of expected because the variegated ones will... Oh, look at this. Finally, they're here. It only took, I don't know, 3-4 months. Well, they're here, and they're going to start working on these spider mites that I'm having issues with. I did spray them earlier. for spider mites, and it kind of just made the problem worse. Don't spray for mites unless you spray completely, consistently, and constantly, and I don't do that. So we're just going to let everything take its own thing. And I'm going to back up over here to show you overall the garden. But then I'm going to pan over here because, like I said, we're going to end over here. So I'm going to come over into this space, and up here is a castor, Zanzibariensis. It's a giant castor. If you just search that, if you get the red ones, they'll probably be like the red castors that I showed you over there. These ones are super cool. They'll get 10 to 12 feet tall by the end of the season. I don't know about these ones, but they're only about 4 months old. Inside of here is a bunch of Canna, and these are the Canna, I don't remember the series. They're probably the Canova series. Canova, probably Rose, Bronze, I don't know. It was originally, road noise, it was originally a variegated Canna that is still variegated. This one is, I mean, it might have a couple of the very, very old leaves on it. But this one, when it's inside, it grows variegated and striated. When it's outside, the UV gets it, it just turns all into that same color. We had these sunflowers here. This one right here is from a variegated line I've been working on for the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 years. There's a little bit of variegation in that one. This one pretty much sported back to all green. I don't mind that too much. It gave a good amount of pollen, brought in some pollinators, which is good for me because I'm going to be using these Canna seeds next year to do the rest of the yard, because I want to start chopping and dropping every year, everywhere. Now this right here, it's a variegated cotton, which is finally starting to get its color in. Pretty happy with that. Back in this little corner, tucked in, and I don't know what that was that just moved all of that foliage. Maybe I don't want to know, because it definitely was not me. But we have the Pharaoh's mask, and as you can see, we have spider mite damage. Good guys are here. It's a buffet for everybody, I guess. It is what it is. We have some more variegated cotton and some of these petunias that I will be taking out. Ultimately, where this cut line is, so right in here is going to be where I'm going to be taking most of this grass out and letting that grow for the rest of the season. Oh, I forgot to talk about this little guy right here. Well, it's not really that little. It's quite large, actually. I don't know if you can really understand how big that is, because everything in here is so large. That right here is a cardoon, which next year will probably get 7 to 8 feet tall, which will probably be a little bit higher than these. So this right here is sitting at about 7-ish feet, maybe 6.5 feet at the moment. It's just growing way too fast. I can't keep up with it. I really like it though. I wanted 50 or 60 of them in the yard this year. I planted 50 seeds. I got 3 plants. Gardens happen. So I'm going to actually tuck into this right here, because this is more what I'm going for with the variegated sunflower and what I'm kind of breeding for, or selecting for lack of a better word. This right here is one plant, and the sunflowers that are around it are the Soraya sunflowers, which get these, and they're a cut and come again sunflower. And it's the 3rd year they've been in here with Sorayas, and I'm kind of at the point now where they're close enough. If I do cut those, they will pop back up with some more blooms. I don't want to. I'm going to let these all go to seed, collect those seeds and start that for next season. Same with this plant back here, and I have more over there. But these are the 2 that I want to do seeds from. for next year's cycle, if that makes sense. It's another cardoon, some volunteer casters with spider mite damage. These, I love these zinnias. They pop up everywhere and then I just let them go, but they're very, very pink against very, very red and yellow, and it just, if I take these out and put them in a vase, I think they'd be better. Maybe. I don't know. We'll see. So right down here is another of the giants. This is a yellow Andaman though, so it is variegated, obviously, you can see that. You can probably also see it has spider mite damage, but there's also a couple of pups popping up around here. This is a profuse pupper, and I believe that some of those pups, because they are corms, will probably survive over the winter out in our zone. Like I said, we're zone 7B-ish. I say ish because for the most part, anything that's rated to a zone 8 that dies back to the ground will come back here. And it has been that way for, I don't know, 4 or 5 years now. And this right here is a sunflower that I got because I thought it was variegated. It's one of, I think, the Sunfinity, or it's the, I don't know, I think it might be the Proven Winners one. I hate this sunflower. I hate everything about it. I don't understand why people use it, but if they're getting value from it, okay. Obviously it's not getting as much sun as maybe it should, and it's definitely not getting the heat it wants or needs. These are just kind of filling in. As you can see, I have a bunch of weeds in here, kind of letting them go because I want the ground covered continuously. I think that was one of the issues that I had with the spider mites. Good guys couldn't get to where they needed to be. From the back side here, you can see a little bit more of what I had envisioned it looking like. Not that it was a particularly well thought out vision, but I wanted the darkness of the cannas with the reds up top, these kind of coming out and creating like 3 sections in there. Sorry, focus. With some bananas and tropical things popping up and out of them. With the sunflowers, which they're facing away, I wanted the sunflowers to be just at the height of these guys right here. So I wanted their heads to be up top. Spider mites got them and then they bolted higher. I'm going to cut them back. Whatever grows back, grows back. I don't really care. This is more to create biomass for the soil, and then I can start taking some of these out and replacing them with perennials that I want a little bit more. So, dipping down into here, I had some sweet potatoes that I had to cut up because they were just too big, and I just stuck them wherever I wanted to because wherever. Whatever. There are no rules in gardening, and you will see, especially with me, that I follow no rules in gardening. This right back here is a combination of more Soraya sunflowers, some more of those cuttings that I did, which I guess these, maybe you can call these silverberry. They originally started off being the bubble gum that then sported into like a candy cane type thing that through the winter I guess turned into this and a little bit of the pink. I don't know. I'm not really loving them. I'm going to be pulling them out next year, well, probably in a couple of months here. They're not at all stable. I mean, if you look at this right here, this is one plant, and you have this candy cane striping along with like that one right back there. The one that I pulled off was a lot more intense than that, and I'll see if I can post a picture of it. I didn't really want to edit this before I posted it because it was really just for me. So right in here is another yellow Andaman, and all these cannas here, all of these cannas were seed grown. So they're all individual and unique plants. They're all going to have different flower forms and expressions, and I put them back here because, as you can see, there's ivy, and it's ground ivy, so it's going to be forever getting rid of it. And I needed something that I could chop to the ground and then work on, and then let it grow up and over it, and then chop to the ground and then work on it. Or just chop and drop over top of it, and over a couple of years it'll probably weaken it to the point where I don't have to worry too much about it. Who knows? We'll see. So this right here, another couple of sweet potatoes, and then these cannas in here. This one is actually a really deep clear red, and it's something that I want to look forward to and look into moving forward. There's some in here that are just absolutely terrible when it comes to their red expression, but as you can see, like even on the screen, it's kind of blowing it out. Like, that's just pure, deep, intense red. So this is like primary yellow. Oh, I just threw those in there because I had extra ones. They're terrible looking, they're diseased. I don't really care. To be honest with you, most of these I put in here because if you do notice also, the things that I have in here that are just like pretty terrible are all things that I'm just going to let go to seed, so they can throw a couple of seeds into the ground next spring. So when I just start irrigating this, I'll have castor beans and sunflowers already in here, and I'll have a couple of zinnias probably already in here popping up. And that's really what I want. I don't want to have to do much work for it to be a very lush, overgrown, but seemingly intentional vibe. We'll see how that turns out. I don't know how often these are going to be going up. I've been meaning to do this particular one for I think now 3 months. I think I originally wanted to throw a video up for myself so I can see what's going on. Like, none of this was even planned, to be honest with you. So if I'm standing back here, I'll stand back in this little tucked out corner. So I originally only wanted to do this right here as my project bed. Every year I have some sort of project that I'm working on in the garden. This year I wanted to just start playing with cannas. I wanted cannas that were hardy here, that had the colors that I want. I wanted the bluish, like glaucous, they call it, foliage, with some very nice orange, like yellows, and I wanted a deep pure red and a deep yellow, pure yellow, both with green leaves, to start working in basically hedges around. So last year I had 2 cannas. It's actually this one right here that I dug up and split into all of those. I got like 40-ish of them. That's why I know that all those are the variegated types, because that's the one that came from the variegated ones, and they do come true to seed as well. Not very often. So out of the 400 seeds that I planted, about 200 of them I think were from the variegated set, and of those 4 or 5 of them I think were variegated. They're kind of over there. Some of them died out because I'm terrible at taking care of plants that need special care, and some of those needed some special care because they were burning, and I just, no place for that here. So I'm actually going to start walking towards this right here. Back here is just kind of my graveyard of tanks. I was doing like plant isolations in some of those because I was breeding some smaller plants. It's not that big of a deal. It's all just kind of trash now. I need to get that up and out and into the garage, maybe someday. But right here, this is sweet potato that I cut back and put everywhere else. I cut that back maybe 2 or 3 weeks ago, and it's already out to there. That actually does produce sweet potatoes. This one right here, when I put it in the ground, had 2 potatoes about the size of, I don't know, a small baseball. Like the entire quart pot was just full of potatoes. So that's the one I chose. I put it in there. I'm going to dig it up at the end of the season, see if there's any potatoes in it. Back here I just put a couple of spare cannas. I put some orange ones over here, some red ones back there. All of this was that bamboo before, and I cut it down, and it is now over there. I originally wanted all of the leaves to come off of it, and then I would either use the bamboo or I don't know, but I wanted the leaf litter from it. Probably actually burn it. I mean, it burns pretty well, but we'll see on that. It'll probably actually end up just sitting here until fall, when I'm more likely to actually burn stuff. But I'm going to swing back around here into this right here, because again, seedlings. I had a terrible year for seedlings. Out of 10 Dill's Atlantic Giant seeds that I planted, one came up. I wanted to cross it with the Goosebumps pumpkin, didn't come up, so I just have this one Dill's Atlantic Giant chilling out here. It's not growing very fast. I'm not fertilizing it very much. We'll see what it produces by the end of the season. It is July 20-something-th today. Probably the day that this was posted, if not the day after. Well, the day before. But back here I just have a bunch of zinnias kind of chilling. And right in the middle I do have a variegated tomato. This is a regular, it's not a shimmy-fori, it's one of just the regular variegated tomatoes. And I'm going to dip more into some of these cannas. Now all of this, and if you can see this beautiful grass right here, all of this, I just cut the grass like this, put a non-selective herbicide over top of it, and then planted directly in. Now I have to come through and pull this stuff out, because a lot of this is actually just grown into it. It's not actually grown in it. Most of the soil in there now looks like that. Because when the weeds resprouted, I let them all grow. And when you do that, you have individual tiny little plants everywhere. They're all breaking up the soil. After the larger plants got a little more established, I just went in with a light hoeing and pulled the top layer of soil off, took everything off, and there's no light really getting down to the soil, so no real plants sprouted back up. And this is kind of the only weeding that I have to go through. It's like these really long spindly weeds are coming up, and they're that simple. It's just this stuff that annoys the hell out of me. But it's gardening. And realistically, if this gets out of hand at the end of the season, I can just mow this whole thing down to the ground, because all of this dies to the ground every year. Which, again, why I love this. I'm just now noticing this flower right here. Well, this one's spent a little bit, but I kind of like this vibe. That's a very large petal as well. I'm probably not going to actually evaluate any of the flowers themselves until the fall. I'm just going to go through and look at these videos and see which ones I liked the most while I was doing it. And the ones that I like the most, I'll dig and probably propagate over the summer through indoor culture. Basically, I just throw them in a bunch of leca with some hydroponic nutrients and let them go and cut them up at the beginning of the spring. Coming around here, we have more castor beans, another yellow andaman. This right here, I have a colocasia redemption. Now, I have a variegated redemption behind me, and I'll show that to you in just, well, when I get around to it, literally. So, I'm going to actually kind of move pretty fast through most of this, because all this, you kind of know, these are just cannas. This right here is a sunflower. It was supposed to be tiger eyes. It was not. And that, as you can see, spider mites, disease, it's all present. It's all going to be present. It'll work itself out through the years as they develop on the property. This right here is a purple tree kale. Now, I'm working on some brassicas, and I wanted to see what people were talking about with purple tree kale. I don't see it. Maybe you do. And I'll show you my comparisons in a minute. But there's some purple tree kale for you. There you go. So, in here I have a bunch of, oh, if you know what this is, what is this? I love and hate it because it is wispy, and if you look at this right here, like it kind of hugs and tucks itself into things, and it's giving some competition to that canna, which I actually really like, because when you crowd cannas and other tropicals, they tend to grow taller faster, which is really what you want, especially if you're going to be chopping and dropping, because like all of this is going to be green material for a compost pile that's going to be sitting on top of where this is at the end of the fall. And back to this. So I've had this in the yard for a couple of years, and I've been playing with it kind of as an ornamental wherever it pops up. If I think it can go there for a little bit, I'll let it live. And this is kind of what it's grown into in about 6 weeks or so from its seedling. It just reminds me of, I don't know, it's just, there's something about it. There's something about it. I think something could be planted with it. It reminds me a lot of the Gara that Laura from Garden Answer is using in her gardens a lot this year, and she did last year as well, where it's just kind of bright and wispy. And I think these are seed heads, but I don't know when they bloom or if they're ever done blooming, because they never don't have just what this looks like on it. So I kind of feel like this would be a really good ornamental if it was planted with something that was very, very aggressive, like a Supertunia, which I won't claim these are, because these are actually very slow. These are like 8-week-old plants. Very slow. But they actually have an anthocyanin issue in them, so it prevents them from photosynthesizing correctly, I believe. That's from my own little research. I can't really get seedlings off of these. Most of these are sterile triploids. But I was just playing with them to understand the actual gene. Like I said, I'm pulling all these out. I don't know when. I want to replace them this fall with a bunch of violas. I think it would be really cool to have something that kind of blooms through the winter for us, and where our seasons changed, I think it would work. Now, tucking back in, we have this little grouping. So we have the casters and the banana. This was supposed to be a banana that it is not. It was supposed to be a moa loa, something like that, that blooms very rapidly. It's not supposed to have this variegation. I love this probably better than the other one. I'm keeping it. Obviously, it's here, it's chilling. It's, you know, very happy, as you can see. So, tucking back over here, we have another yellow anemone. Like I said, they're a profuse pupper, oh my god, a profuse pupper. So they throw out corms constantly, probably creating a bunch under the ground there as we speak. Hopefully they'll start popping up randomly over the next few years, more and more casters. Tucked in here also, I did show you the variegated tomato, but let's see, do I have anything else that's weird and project-y over here? I don't really think so. I say project-y. I say that because I'm coming up on the project bed. Actually, here. So if you imagine that, but just completely fragmented. Just, I'll show you the picture of it. I haven't came across one yet out here that kind of looks most similar to it. That looks, actually, this right here. So imagine this little spot right here, but the whole flower. And there was 3 flowers like that in a row. I pulled it off, and over the winter, by the way, if you don't give these more than like 10 hours of light, they won't bloom. So over the winter, I didn't see any blooms. And the spring, it was just like all white for the most part. Going back to the purple tree kale, this right here, it's in a terrible spot. It absolutely hates it here. But this right here is a variegated kale. It's a different type of kale. I believe that they're perennial down to a zone 5 or 6. Don't quote me on that. We'll see how it grows through the rest of the fall. It's not loving the heat. It was baking out here, which is why I have these weeds. If you know what these weeds are too, let me know. They grow very fast here. They're very easy to pull, and I kind of love them. Every time I see them, I'm letting them grow because they're very succulent. They're holding on to water right at the surface. They cover the surface very quickly with a very short taproot, and then they just puff out, so no light at all gets to the ground. Like, this is probably 2 plants. I don't want to pull it because I want it to continue covering, but this is probably 2 plants, and that's probably 1, I don't even know what kind of grass that is, crabgrass, Bermuda grass, who knows. So actually, you might be noticing this right here. This is variegated corn. About 3/4 of this is variegated corn. This is F2 or 3, I think. I think it's the 3rd season. Basically, I took Japonica corn, which is variegated corn, and I directly crossed it with a couple of different colors of the glass gem corn. And this season, I think, is the first season I'm going to have, maybe, we'll see. We will see. And you can see too, I'll post it probably. I think we're going to have variegated corn that has the glass gem cobs. And that's what I've been working on, trying to work on for a few years, just because I thought it would be cool. We'll see. We will see. There are some in here that are much more variegated than others. But a lot of them are just getting this anthocyanin push up and down their stalks here. Some of that is from stress, but I would really love for that to just kind of fully embed in the actual variegation, so we have a fully pink variegated corn. But you know, time will tell on that one. We'll see what next season brings. I had a couple that actually went over into this bed, and I'll come over to it right now. I had a couple that came into this bed, which both gorgeous and terrifying at the same time. Weeds, bunch of cactus. That cactus is like 15 or 20 years old. And some of this corn came up completely white, which most of it dies. I did put a couple of them out here, and I don't think I can see it. Oh, it's burnt. But right in this area right here and right here, one of the white ones started to grow pretty well, and it put out a little bit of green. I think it might have put a small ear on. If it does, I'm going to pull that off independently, because I think it will be what I call a ghost variegation, where it pops up white but then turns green. It's kind of like the parrot feather or feathers hosta or something like that. Here's another redemption, and here's something that I don't like about the redemption. It doesn't like the heat, And when you put too much heat on it, it starts doing things like this. And I don't love that. If they're all like this with a little bit of pink in it, I'm cool with that. Oh, look at that. What is happening here? That's a distorted leaf. I mean, it has a little bit of issues, I assume, from spider mites, because that's actually where, this is where the spider mites came from. Spider mites got into these, and then the wind whips this and just distributes them everywhere. Terrible. I regret spraying for them, I can tell you that. So, dipping back into this, I want to look at this thing because it is distorted. If you see that one side, the right side is significantly smaller than the left side. That's usually an indication that there's some ploidy issues, and I don't know, we'll keep an eye on that. From this batch, I actually did get the variegated one. This is not the variegated redemption, by the way. Not the variegated redemption. Oh, I just realized I'm completely skipping over everything here. Let me go back here. If you're used to like ADHD stuff, is where we got. So this is trucks. This is my grandmother's ramp area. I do need to weed it. She's a bunch of Canna. She likes yellow flowers. So I'm gonna come back here. Come back in here. Now down here I'm gonna do something in here. These are tomatoes that have been self-seeding now for 3 years. They were originally Super Sweet 100s, and there's something I'm probably going to keep here, because one of the things I used to love doing was bringing my dog over here, and he would pick one of the currently, I guess they're all not ripe, one of the ripe ones, and he would chew it off because he absolutely loved tomatoes, and it's something that I want to kind of keep here as a reminder of him. So in here we have more castor beans. That's one of the ones that ended up kind of that pinkish color. This is a sedum that has been growing here for 6 or 7 years. Originally came on a tile, like one of those sedum tiles, and it's the only one that survived very well, at least. And it did so with the help of this. I think they're probably a zone 8 or 9. But just right in here with the cover of everything, it works out. This is an Opuntia that now blooms every spring. I've had it probably for 15 or 20 years. I originally got it from Brian's Botanicals right after he set up his website. So before that, you had to like email him and PayPal him directly. Oh God, that was a time. That was a time in the plant world. Down here is a bank of these. These are only planted about 8 or 10 inches apart, I think. And they're probably 18 or 20 inches tall now. Well, wide. And probably 12, 14 inches tall. And this right here, where it looks like it's kind of spilling up into it, there's actually one back here. It was a branch that fell off, and I just stuck it in the back, and it happened to root. These things root really easily, like too easily. In here I have some vinca, and then I also have some dahlia, and those dahlias there are actually almost all variegated dahlias, or they came from variegated dahlias. This right here, as you can see, has some variegated leaves on it. This one right here is my favorite. It has the clearest red, and is one that I'm going to be, probably after this video, well, almost all of this stuff after this video, I'm going to be chopping and starting to propagate some of these. Like this is going to be propagated. Some of the other stuff that's over here is going to be propagated. And sunflowers I'm going to keep. Oh, this is where the rest of the variegated sunflowers are. As you can see, we had, maybe not as you can see, we had a pretty massive storm blow through that gave us a crazy amount of like downpours, sudden downpours and torrential downpours. So we had so much water coming off the top of this roof right here that it washed back here up through here, and you can kind of see it. Excuse me. You can see how much spillage was coming through here. Now this ordinarily drains that way and away from the house, because the house itself is up on basically a hill. It's higher than all the other houses in this area. So how this happened, I'm not sure, but as you can see, it literally just bowled corn over. I had to kind of just tie and push everything back up into its place and just hope that it stood back up, and most of it did. But the sunflowers I just let stay because they already had cracked center stems, and I didn't want to affect anything on the outside, because I knew that they were still going to do their thing, and they still are. So back into this, we have the various variegated dahlias. That one right there is having a time. I think it probably has a viral load on it. It is also the one that's closest to the corn that was so heavily infested. Time will tell on that one. Down into here we have a couple of marigolds that are variegated, and some weeds that are not variegated, although I do have some weeds that are variegated up top. There's a variegated stem on this one. There's another variegated stem down there somewhere on that one. I'll just let it go, get some seeds off of it, see what happens. After I cut these dahlias back, it'll also give them a little more space. I'm not going to be pulling seeds off of most of these dahlia. I just don't like the way that they come through as seeds in variegated form. This is really kind of the only two that were successful out of several dozen. So I'm just going to be out sport hunting on those ones, because I do want some yellow ones, and I want a purple one that has better variegation than the purple one that I have here. And here, actually. So if you look in here, there is some good variegation on that, but as you can see, the vigor is significantly diminished. I guess I could probably take seeds from that. I don't know, we'll see. In here, I just have some Tradescantia that I had extra that I threw in there, and this, and it's been attacked. This daylily is not showing it, but is variegated, and it was a variegated sport. It's starting, I guess, to revert. We'll see, and I don't know, we'll see what that brings. I did pollinate it with a triploid, or a polyploid, I guess. I don't know if these seeds are going to be viable. I doubt it. We'll see. So that right there is a collard green that is variegated, and it's having issues, as you can tell, but they're one of my primary pollinators, the things that are eating that. I'm growing for seed, so just got to deal with it. In the fall and winter, this is all going to be down. This, as well as there's, actually, I didn't even show you guys this. There's a lot I'm not going to be able to show you, because there's a lot that just, I don't even know I have, because I collect so randomly, and I have such ADHD. But that right there is a variegated broccoli, and that is, I think it's one called Summer Wonder or something like that. It was a variegated sport that I found earlier this summer, and did well through the hottest part. I mean, I say did well. It did this during the hottest part of the season. And I know that they're pretty hardy here, and I'm going to see if I can get it through the winter. I'm going to pull a couple cuttings inside just so I can always have a variegated broccoli in the yard, because I think it's a cool, novel thing. But If I can get this thing to perennialize in my area and I just have perennial broccoli, I think that would be cool. Especially it's right outside the main door, which is where kind of like the kitchen is and where I cook most of my stuff that requires actual cooking, because there's a better stove setup in that house. So I'm gonna come over into this, and now this is an absolute fucking mess. Excuse my language, it's kind of late, but it's a mess. This right here, these were flats that were on sale for $5, I think. So it was $5, $5, $5. Don't know where I'm gonna put them. $15, can't go wrong. Found this little guy, which is a Sport, and it is a Canna Sport, one that's very similar to like a I don't want to call it a mint, like a Constellation, I guess, where there's just a little flex through everything. I don't know if it'll do anything. It probably won't. The way that this looks, it kind of looks like it's going to have a hard time blooming. It is kind of tucked in this 4-inch pot. It's probably been there for a couple months. I'm going to get out and see what I can do with it, or if it does anything. We'll see. In here is a graveyard of a bunch of stuff. Here are what's left of the sunflowers that were not variegated, but I just kept them here in case I needed either pollen or sunflowers do really well from cutting. So if I wanted a plant that didn't have like a termination on it here, I would be able to come back here for the most part. Come back here, cut about 6 or 7 leaves back. That'll start a new little sprout here. You take that sprout, nip the bud off of it, and then plant this as a new cutting, and it'll grow like a normal sunflower for the most part. You have to stun them, and then you have to completely reset them. It's a pain in the ass. I don't suggest doing it. I've had to do it for a couple of the variegated ones that I've done, and it takes a long time, and it's a pain in the ass. Don't do it. But you can do it if you need to. This right here is a volunteer that popped up a couple of years ago, and I'm talking about the cattails here. I love their texture, so I decided to just keep them. There's a bunch of duckweed in there. That used to be a turtle bin. We used to do turtles out here. That also used to be what was in those cages. And you can also probably see like little bits of wood and rock and stuff like that, because I still did terrariums for a while. Still do terrariums. Only for clients, though. I don't do them for myself anymore because I'm busy with this stuff. This right here is awesome. It is a frog bit, but it's a variegated frog bit, so it gives you a little extra texture. And these are plants that I put in here 4 or 5 years ago. This is a black crepe myrtle that somehow has been surviving just in a bucket of water now for several years. It bloomed last year. I don't think it'll bloom this year. If I put some fertilizer in here, it probably would. Now, getting into some more rare stuff, actually rare stuff. This right here is trash. Still is trash. But this right here is what a variegated redemption looks like. And as you can see, it's pretty terrible. Anything that comes out completely white just immediately dies off. It does kind of give you this bony look to leaves that come out all white. But this is very new. I've had this, I think, for 4 months now. 2 months. 2 months. Yes. 2 months. I've been watching it for 4 months. It's been in a nursery that I know, and there was a tiny little red spot, and I have a picture of it from back then. Didn't do anything until like the very last sale when they couldn't get rid of it. It was growing kind of slowly in general. So it was never one that was just picked out. And I came in and it had a leaf on it that looked like this. So I picked it out, brought it home. Ultimately, it put out this one, as well as the babies that now have some degree of variegation, varying from each of them. I also just throw cuttings in here that I need to root. Oh wow, look at that spider mite damage. Look at all them chickens. But this is the type of red spot that I was talking about, it having just kind of like that flush. And I didn't think that it was doing anything real, and it did. So we're gonna see how that grows. Fertilizer bins. This right here is the type of irrigation that I think that last one in the 4-inch pot is. Excuse the fan in the back. It's annoying, but it'll probably never stop. This right here is a constellated variegation where it has little bits and patches of areas where it just doesn't have chlorophyll. This one right here is a bicolor red and yellow. Looks cool. We'll see what that one brings. If you guys are houseplant people, you probably just like, why am I not addressing this? I don't know how to address it. It's a variegated sport. It popped out. I got it. It's growing. Oh, one thing I will say actually about this, as the sun is coming out and beating directly on it, your Monsteras can take sun. All of them. All of them can take full sun. You have to acclimate them to them, but they can take full, absolute, and unadulterated sun. I don't know who came up with the bright indirect stuff. Give them as much light as they can get. Just make sure that you give it to them slowly at first, maybe a week or so, where you're going to give it, I don't know, 15 minutes, 20 minutes of direct sun, and then you just increase it every week or so until you're at about 2 or 3 hours, and at that point you can just leave it out. Make sure it gets enough water. It'll grow a lot faster, it'll grow a lot better, it'll just be a happier plant, and you'll have a happier life. That includes all of your Tycons, just any Monstera deliciosa variant there is. Put them in sun. Put them in sun. Over here, a couple of, you're probably not going to be able to hear me because of that wonderful air conditioner. But back here we have some green on green contorted that did sport into Albo. Oh, and mint. Oh wow. Well, you're here for this. I have, I guess, a tricolor contorted mint. Yep, not spider mites. Yeah. Well, oh look, this is it too, look. Oh wow. Look at this, look at the sinus. This is insane. You're seeing this real time. So look at the sinus. Is that what it's called? This top part where it's just straight up flat. And then I have this mintiness happening here in this sectoral into the green. God, this thing is gorgeous. What is this? What is happening here? Well, you just heard me excited. Look, is it like this stuff? Like this I saw. This is what I originally bought it with. And I made like 6 plants out of it. Huh. What the heck is that? That looks so cool. Anyway, back to whatever, what was I doing? I guess I was showing you this. We're almost at, I guess, the end. Well, the end, where we started. Here's a couple of, these are just regular albos that were all green I found in a prop bin. And I wanted to give them full sun to see if they would pop some variegation back out, and they're starting to. Huh. Look, this is the parent that it came from. And I just cut the babies off of it, and then this is one that pops out of it. Holy shit balls. Oh, I have a terrible mouth, by the way, I apologize. and it's not going to stop. Huh. What is that? What is that? I don't know, it's pretty. Maybe I should figure out a way to keep spider mites away from them then, in a real way. Let's see, here are the other ones from that same, like, from that same plant. This one has that, like, drop vibe as well, with this green in it. I don't know, what is this? Maybe I'll post this on Sport Hunters. Oh look, holy shit. Okay. Okay, look at you. Alright. Alright. I guess I gotta start paying attention to you guys. Hey look, I weeded. Oh no, now I'm nervous. Like, is it gonna get too much sun? I don't know. I gotta put these back and stop thinking about it, because, wow, okay. Anywho, back to the regularly scheduled program, maybe. Look at that, what the hell? God, that's gorgeous. Alright, let me actually just tip this over. I have, this is fertilizer water. Although this is fertilizer water, that was not, I don't know, that was droopy and it was not dry. Anyway, a couple of caladiums. This one right here and this one right here are the same plant. I think there's something going on with it. We'll see. This right here I think is a black coral, but I bought because it had this in it, which I'm like, is that or is that not? Variegation doesn't really come through the back. We'll grow it out. It does have this, which is what that one does, which I think is actually a black coral that went into a redemption, I think. I'm not sure. This is a coffee cups that was damaged by a bunch of spider mites and had a leaf on it I thought was interesting, and it was on sale and it gave me an excuse to buy it. This is a leaf that was interesting. I was like, that's spider mite damage. 100% spider mite damage. But just in case, I'll buy it. That's how my life is. That's just how my life is. So, variegated basil. I kick it every once in a while to make myself feel better because it smells good. In here, we have a bunch of the Canna seedlings that came from a couple of different sources. I'll link them down below maybe. But we have this Zanzibarian castor, which I think you can kind of see better, like how big these leaves actually are. And this isn't even that big of a leaf. The one over there is probably 7 or 8 inches wider than that one. It's pretty good. In here is a beautiful little banana. And this is another one of the bananas that is variegated. But if you can see, the variegation doesn't always come as solid on the maturing leaves as you can see it on the fresh leaves, which I don't know, maybe one of the tours you'll see a super fresh leaf. The one that was over there you can kind of see a little better. This one was a different batch though. This came from a batch that this was this year's actually. So this year's batch, this is a variegated one from this, which I actually got very excited about because this one looks like it has a better growth habit than the other one. Actually, oh my god, I completely forgot something that I'm very excited about. And I'll actually walk over to it right now because I will forget it and I'm already at an hour. Oh, here's a bunch of brassicas that I'm going to be using for breeding something over there. But I wanted to come back over here because if you guys saw it, and I missed it, sorry. This is a variegated red banana that I found a couple of days ago. As you can see, the red's starting to get into it. This should be variegated pink and white when it's at its full coloration. This does have a little bit of the yellow variegation in it as well as the white, and this does actually look like two different types of variegation, and I've had them in both yellow and white. The yellow variegation kind of sucks, but let's just hope that I'm wrong about that and it's not yellow variegation in there. It's actually the white that is just not coming all the way through. Time will tell on that one. We'll see. I hope to actually get a bunch of babies on this because I could probably get, I don't know, 7 or 8 more leaves out of it this year. By the end of the season, if I eye it, each one of those leaves will become a baby. So 10 to 12 of these, and then have them along this whole space and that space to be the centerpieces. Just have giant variegated morellii. Can't wait. We'll see though. I mean, that could completely fail. It probably will actually. Anyway, getting back into this, we went over the variegated. Oh, by the way, these are all Bajous. So these are all the hardy ones. So that one over there, that pup that was over there, came off of that one, but it's not variegated. Down here we have a couple of more. So this is kind of what I want for color in the actual flowers, where it's like yellow-ish, but also just a little tropical orange. So like this is very much in contenders. It has the glaucous foliage, but I want redder glaucous foliage, something more similar to the one that's over here. I don't know why I started in here. The full ADHD, but I also look around. More of the babies. This one right here has an anthocyanin instability, as well as variegation on it. As you can see, I haven't been feeding these, and I need to feed them quite a bit. But all of these have some form of variegation or anthocyanin instability, and these are ones that I can actually breed off of and perpetuate. All these other ones are going. In here I have a couple more redemptions. We'll see what they do by the end of the season. This right here is Waikiki, I believe. I think it's the one that has the red in the center. It's not white lava. I thought it'd be interesting to have the redemption there, and there popping out of this pink, with this having the pink in the center and the white bones instead of the red bones. In here is a collard green that has white variegation in it. And it's one that I think I'm also, so the one that's over that you saw probably, 10 minutes ago, that one has green on green variegation, so it's green on the inside and a dark green on the outside. I want it to be white on the outside, all white on the outside, green on the inside. So we're going to start cutting off this section as the growth kind of speeds up, as it cools down. Hopefully I can get what I want out of those, but I have 4 of them in here. So there's one there, and there. So one of them will hopefully give me what I want. Next spring I'll also have seeds from these, and they do come true. I say true. They'll come variegated through seed. Redemption, and actually I'll give you a little closer look, but like this is what I want. I want a nice large white margin, green on the inside. It's kind of doing everything but not like the broccoli. It kind of just settled right into it immediately. This one's just having some trouble, and I don't know why. I kind of like that section. Like if I pulled that section off, I'd be very happy if it just continued like that constantly, because these leaves actually get gigantic. I don't know if you can tell, but that right there, it's so hard to tell in these beds, but like not tiny, but they get the size of like, almost the size of like the kale that Baker Creek sells. That's supposed to be giant thunderhead or whatever, something head kale. Look at that leaf, that looks perfect. I think that's what it'll eventually look like. It'll just be white with a little bit of green in that center, but we'll see how those turn out. This right here is a variegated zinnia. This is the fourth generation. Variegated zinnias. I had, probably 50 of them. Killed them all. By accident, obviously. But yeah, they all damped off overnight. It was kind of my fault. I watered them and then did not let them warm up before I turned the lights off at night. This right here is a Farrer's mask. And let me show you what it's doing in the heat, lacking nutrition. Because as you can see, like, the reason I'm doing all this is because our soil's terrible. It's just sand. Like, if you think of gardening on a beach, that's what I'm doing. It's all sand. But in the heat and humidity, the veins popped through the center there and made this really intense veining. I don't know, I thought it was really cool. Underneath we have another one of the variegated zinnias, and this one is the only survivor from the yellow variegated zinnias. And I kept this one because you can't see it now, but this was a ghost rider as well. So this one came up all white, and I did a little magic to make it turn green. And I believe that the seedlings from this will probably also come out white. I don't know if that'll have any value. It's just a novel thing for me. Is what it is. Again, all these seedlings are whatever. Right here is limelight hydrangea. As you can see, it's doing terribly because this is terrible soil. Absolutely terrible. All of this is done on absolutely terrible soil. This right here was a driveway. I say was. We do sometimes drive on it still, but that's pretty indicative of the soil. It's just sand and rock. And if you can tell by the color, there's no organic matter. We did this already. We did all this already. But I want to show you the variegated broccoli in case I didn't show you more closely, nicely before. This one, for whatever reason, is not getting the predation. This one and the one that's over on the top project bed is genetically identical. There's cuttings from each other. This can give you an idea. So this is smaller than the size of this collard when these get to their full size. They're bigger than that. All right, into the last of the bed. And this is what I call the project bed, not because of the weed pressure, although my weed whacker has been held hostage by one of our neighbors. I'm not going to name names. His name is Jeffrey. This right here is another one of the variegated Cannas that I said is more like a constellation. You can kind of see that little bit. Obviously, maybe not obviously. Let's see. Do we have any? It doesn't look like we have any spider mites on this one. Oh no, we do, definitely. So some spider mite pressure on this one. Whatever. I think this will come into the seeds itself. We'll see. We'll see on that. Oh, I found an agave americana. Huh. Wonder what else is back in there. I mean, I just saw this giant... I'm gonna stop saying that. Anyway, this right here is actually perfect. That's the type of irrigation that I get when I grow it inside. And then this, let's see. And then it goes to that as soon as it hits UV light. And all of these, this entire plant, holy shit. Holy shit. Oh, okay. That's not normal. That's not how that normally happens, like at all. All right, so you've discovered two great things with me today, actually, and I don't know what to do with either of them. Let's see. Let's tuck into here. Oh, look! It's doing the thing! It's turning into a Cleopatra type variegation. Wow, that's wild. I have to dig that out. How am I going to dig that out? It's starting to rain. I'm going to get a little faster on... Well, have I been faster on this? More yellow andamins. These ones are actually pupping pretty well. Geez, I'm like distracted by this. Colocasia. This is one of the variegated seedlings from the variegated ones from behind me. Here's another variegated one. I'm going to be rained out on this last little section. That's fine. Another variegated Canna. It's doing well. I had some phytotoxicity with it. Oh, this is a bullion, a flowering maple, whatever. This whole plant came from a seed that I started 3-4 months ago now. So that whole plant tucked in, it's about 2.5 feet tall. There's a little bit of a berm here, so you can't really see. This is really frustrating. Giant colocasia. You saw this variegated one. This variegated, I'm just going inside.